Sirken, can you hear me? Is your vent configured? We tried to get a has-been manager earlier, and he doesn't know how to work a computer. Hopefully you're a little better.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine. Perfect.
Alright, excellent. I had to turn down the volume on your stream.
Yeah, you want to, you know, don't have the double feedback. Well, I want to thank you for coming onto my stream and answering some questions for us today. We skyrocketed in viewers after we told you you're coming on, so you're very popular.
Well, you know, it's an honor and a privilege to be on your stream.
Thank you, thank you. As the premier PN99 streamer, I'd like to think that's an honor as well to have you here as lead GM. For people that are unfamiliar with Sirken, Sirken is the lead GM as well as general badass of Project 1999. He's in charge of banning you and unbanning you and making sure everyone's playing at a fun time. So I got a list of questions here. First question, we're going to ignore some of the obvious ones. How are you today? And tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm wonderful today. I'm actually gonna just jump right in and knock the big question off the list about Velius. I know everybody wants a concrete date, and I know people get upset when we don't give them one. And as cliche as it is, you guys hear it all the time too, like, everybody's a volunteer, they do this in their spare time, and because of that, nobody has an actual set schedule, and there's no way for us to predict when the dev guys are going to have extra free time, or if they're going to have no free time at all for a couple weeks, and so it gets done and just kind of as time allows. We are hoping for some kind of release by the end of this year, before the year ends.
So, hopefully before 2014, a solid release or a beta release?
Honestly, I would hope for the whole thing, but at a very minimum, I would hope the beta release. Once the beta server goes up, it's not going to be very long at all till it goes live. It'd be very similar to how we released Kunark on Project 1999.
I remember the Kunark release and the beta server they had up. What are some of the main challenges that's happening with Velius right now? What is the main issues that you've seen over the years in developing Velius?
Well, I don't do dev or content. I do very minimal hand-holding for Nobog on that server when he needs another body, and that's pretty much it. Certain zones I just know very well, and so I can tell him, you know, a mob is missing, or a mob should not be there, or whatever. The biggest problems are just researching the information that's accurate for the time period we're looking for. Like, it's easy to find information on Velk's lab, but not necessarily pre-Lucklin or, you know, for Velius release. And so finding accurate information is a real pain in the ass. And then there's no pathing. If anyone's ever been on another EQ emulator server with Velius, or if they've tried to do their own, they know the pathing is all horrible. And so for a lot of the zones, we're completely redoing the pathing to ensure that it works. One very important feature I can tell everybody is that Lodzile will indeed be eating baby seals when he spawns.
That's fantastic. I remember that from my Velius days, Lodzile, and the gnolls that worshipped him. Now, you say pathing has been an issue for everybody. I remember recently they opened up pathing on a server, and they've been collecting pathing, and they've stopped doing that recently. Does that mean that pathing is finished, basically? I know you are not part of the dev team, so you probably don't know the specifics, but we could probably get them out of the way and answer you some more fun ones. And I'm not talking with my mic on. So you said pathing was an issue, but they recently stopped taking requests for pathing. Do you think that means that pathing is pretty much done?
Most of it is done. There's some mobs where we just feel we need to do the pathing ourselves, and so we're at that point.
Fantastic, some more internal stuff. Well, let's get out of the whole Velius muck and mire because as we all knew, we didn't know too much was going to happen with that. I'm going to be taking questions from the live channel and from tells. So if you have any questions for Sirken, feel free to send me a tell or preferably post them into the live stream channel here so he can see them directly as well. I want to ask some questions. I have some written down here. You recently, this is not your first server that you've been GMing on, correct? I remember you were also on the VZTZ servers. What was that like as compared to this one?
Well, that is correct. I started staffing over on VZTZ in February of '08, I think it was, and it was very different. I had more power over there. You said I was the lead GM. Technically, I'm the lead CSR GM, whereas Rogan would technically be the head GM of the project.
Rogan doesn't count.
Over on VZTZ, I had just as much access as Rogan has on this server. So it was more of a sandbox for me. Once VZTZ got into some custom content, I was able to make some custom items, which I had a lot of fun with. But P99 is much more legit of a server. It's the only server I know of for sure that actually can track third-party software. And I know people have mixed opinions about how we go about doing that, but it's for the greater good. And they go the extra mile to ensure things are the way they're supposed to be. On VZTZ, the main dev attitude was, close enough. And here, little things drive Nilbog absolutely crazy. And so, I mean, you wouldn't know it, but like the compass, for example, drove Nilbog crazy because all his old screenshots don't have compasses.
Yeah, Nilbog is definitely has an attention to detail, and he normally says he wants the mobs to win every encounter, so he's definitely on the NPC side when it comes to this game. All right, I have a question here from Domjot. It's a Canuric/radio question. Do you think the current FTE ruling is fair? Is it okay a group unable to kill the mob gets credit sniping from a force that kills it?
Okay, I'm assuming this is whatever. It's been posted that the next patch is going to have the FTE shouts for a list of mobs that Nilbog posted. But, hold on a second. But that aside, I don't think it's the best system. I definitely think there's better systems that could be used, but it's the system that requires the absolute minimal amount of work for me, and so that makes it the best system to me. As a whole, the staff doesn't feel we should have to dictate how the raid scene will be. Every server was different. That's what made EQ so great, was that the players literally crafted the world around them. And that's why everybody has different memories of their server and why everyone thinks their server was the greatest. But one thing all of those servers had in common, as far as we know, is that the GMs never came down from the clouds and sat everybody down and was like, okay, this is how you guys are going to do things. This is where you're going to fight your mobs. This is how you're going to fight your mobs. This is when you're going to fight your mobs. We don't want to do that. And if that means that players aren't happy with the current raid scene, then players need to fix the current raid scene. And if they want to just let it get worse and worse and worse and hope staff will step in, that's a very dire mistake, because staff's not going to step in. We're not going to force anything on the raid scene. It's more or less unanimous among the staff.
So more of a laissez-faire attitude towards the raiding. That's fine. I agree minimum rules is best for everybody, as long as, exploits and other things like that are taken care of.
Let me hop in real quick. Another thing is, there's times where I know there's a ongoing forum joke about the fastest javelin in the West, and it sucks. Yeah, it sucks when one person throws a javelin and then Guild A runs in and finishes the mob, and the loot goes to a guild who had 3 people there, and that sucks. But at the same time, when it's, when there's 2 or 3 guilds there that each have a real respectable raid force, say 15 to 20 each, um, when you start leaving room for people's opinions and people's judgments, it just makes the window of error wider. If I if I rule like, well, I feel like this happened, so even though this guy's on the top of the list, I'm going to give it to this guild instead. And then people want to know why you did that. They want to know how this encounter is different than the last encounter. And this just takes all human judgment out of it.
I see. Personal anecdote. What would be against maybe making a list of every current raid mob and then making a minimal number assigned to each one of them? Putting it in concrete down, maybe 15, 10, 5. So it's still on paper. It's something that you don't have to roll in for. But you say you have the minimum of 10 for VS, you have the minimum of 15 for trash. And I make them very low numbers, but make them a qualifier, a very minimum.
Well, what if some guild wants to get ballsy and try it with 9? Do they lose their right to contest the mob because they have a little bit bigger balls?
Well, I think a precedent would need to be set first of a guild. So if you think it's feasible for a guild to kill it with 9, for a mob like VS, I would say yes. Then you set the bar at 5 people, or 6 people. I think the current lowest a guild should be able to kill it should be recorded and put onto the forum there. But with the FTE swash outs, I feel like that might just be a moot issue. Alright, so we're going to go back with another question here. We have Jebber. Jebber tells you, can Sirken please comment on bugged accounts with error 1018? Thanks.
Yes, I can. We are currently working on a fix for the 1018. We don't have one yet. As soon as we do, we're going to post about it. Currently, there's no workaround that we know of. A lot of people ask us to transfer characters to a new account, but we don't do that. I know from talking to players that it has affected that it comes and goes. And so, as shitty as it is, the only real advice I can tell you is to roll an alt, and when the 1018 acts up and doesn't let you log in, play your alt until it goes away and let you log back in. I'm very sorry to everybody that's dealing with that. We've tried to recreate it many, many times, and we just can't.
So it's more of an issue that you haven't found a fix for yet, but you're looking for it. So.
Yeah, it's one of the few things that are actually on Rogan's plate that he's actually working on.
Very good, very good. Okay, question from the chat room. Alethea P99. When is the next patch? And can you explain some of the things that will be included in it? What will be excluded? What will be included in the next patch?
The next patch should actually be soon, because if my math is correct, it's been 44 days since the last one, and the server starts getting kind of buggy after about 45 days of running. That said, there's a whole fuck ton of stuff in this patch. I can't really talk about too much of it, only I'm not sure what's been posted and what's not been posted, but this is the biggest patch we've released in quite some time. I mean, there's updates to the MQ detector, there's lots and lots of current fixes. The FTE shouts are going in. The upper Guck, Raster, Ancient Croc stuff is all going to be fixed. Lots of bugged mobs, lots of few little pathing things. I know Guck, there's a lot of work in Guck, upper Guck. Lots of dumb shit, and then a few big things like the FTE shot.
Very cool. Continue.
I don't know if invis pulling will be in there.
What is your opinion on VP and Funky Camp and all these other high cash camp, high risk reward camps with Invis polling, do you think we're going to see a whole new dynamic of rating with the Invis polling being removed?
I'm against it. I think it trivializes the content, obviously. And I think it will, I just think it will set things to how they should have been. It's going to make a lot of tiers from people who don't have fungi, who feel they should have just an easy time as people who have them now. It might make the cost of fungi tunics go up, actually. People would use that as an excuse. But I mean, I ultimately, I just feel it's setting the encounters to the way they should have been in the first place.
So the guilds that have been killing all this stuff basically be getting a free ride, and this new content's really going to be an eye-opener for the newer guilds out here.
Hopefully, yeah.
I know the TMO is ready for the challenge, and I'm sure other guilds are ready as well. Okay, let's see what we have here. Question, do you believe variants will be in Velius?
I want to assume that it's universal throughout the world. I could be wrong. I've never seen the code. If it's on each individual mob, I'm sure it will be, just because the staff feels that variance is better for the server. And that doesn't necessarily mean guilds or players, but for the server, we feel variance is the best thing.
Now, the reason variance was put in was because there was multiple guilds basically socking and camping mobs, and there'd be 100-some people sitting in track lair. With Velius coming out, and Velius is such an explosion of content, would it be feasible to think that maybe variants could be removed across the board, even in Canarch and classic content? Because I doubt TMO and other higher-end guilds are going to be camping their character gen and tracking on every 3 days when there's literally 100+ rating counters now that spawn, as well as Velius content being much more difficult and strenuous.
I'm really sorry. I was reading a text message. Could you give me a cliff notes on that?
I said with Velius coming out and being such an explosion of content.
Oh, never mind. I got you. It's in the back of my brain. Variance. Here's the thing. We don't do work just for the sake of doing work, and shortening or removing the variance just because would fall into that category. Here's the thing. Here's the way. Right, I'm going to break it down for everybody. Here's the staff's view on the variance. If the variance did not exist, big bad TMO would push mobs into the off hours where only they could field the most people to take these mobs quickly, and that would be the end of it. Nobody would ever see VP again because they would lock down Trackanon for as long as they wanted because they'd know exactly when it would spawn, and who knows, they might chop off a finger if you don't show up to this raid. And so, even though the variance is kind of shitty because you don't know when it's going to spawn, with the variance and with the current FTE rule set, literally any single guild on the server can show up and get Trackanon. Any single one. And if they haven't figured out how to do that, that's their fault. I'm not going to tell them. I'm not, it's going to make life harder for other guilds when they do, but it's very possible. If I had a guild of 20 people, I could contest any mob on this server. And if there was no variance, there'd be no chance. Because there are times where you guys are switching off, and by you guys I mean TMO, where you guys are switching, like you're done tracking, so someone else will log on the tracker, there's 10 minutes in between, and Draco pops in between that 10 minutes. That can happen, and somebody else can snake a guild. Or somebody can poop sock a mob they really want and hope you guys aren't there for it. Um, if that didn't exist, literally the only mobs people would have a shot at are the mobs TMO allowed people to have a shot at, because they could push the mobs to any time they wanted.
Okay. Well, I don't know if I completely agree with that. I agree with the part that we would probably set our um, spawn times to be convenient for us. But if we are able to kill the mob and do such a thing, I think that we deserve the mob. And if another guild is deserving of the mob, they would also spawn at that same time.
And you know what? I agree with you, but that's where it goes into what I said about not caring about players or guilds and just caring about the server. We have to think about people that aren't even on the server yet, that haven't even found it, and may one day come here, start a guild, or merge into some kind of raid guild. And if you guys just have everything on lockdown, like literal lockdown. Now it's people are lazy. They don't want to, do bat phones. They don't want to do the shit that people have had to do to raid in EverQuest for 14 years. I don't care about those people. But if people are willing to do those things and they still can't contest just because, one, and I'm only using TMO as the example because currently they're the top guild. But I mean, any top guild.
Currently
On the Red
recruiting.
server, we see it right now. Nihilum is the top guild over on Red, and they don't have a variance over there. And they did exactly what we're worried about happening to Blue, is all the mobs are on lockdown, all the mobs spawn when it's convenient for them and inconvenient for the rest of the server, and it just doesn't breed a competitive atmosphere. I
No,
always played on PvP servers. I like to see some kind of competition.
no offense to my Red pals, but Red server fields about 100 players and has one real raiding guild. P99 with Velius hits is going to be closer to 2,000 players, I'd have to say, 1,500 minimum. And if you don't think that there's going to be multiple TMO quality, raid quality guilds contesting that are going to be hardcore players, I mean, the server's going to explode, and you have
Quick
to.
finger.
Yes.
How long has Kunark been out?
Million years, last I checked.
Okay, so in the last million years that Kunark's been out, how many guilds have had the idea to honestly merge, put their bullshit aside, and just work together to take down the top guild?
Forceful entry, and forceful entry at that time, they took a good portion of outside VP mobs.
Okay, so in we'll say what, realistically, I think it's been 2 years, a little over 2 years. One guild, it's happened one time.
Well,
I mean,
IB as
come
well.
on.
Don't forget original IB.
IB was at the top before TMO was.
Yeah, and we would count TMO as one of those guilds. We were an up-and-coming guild. We merged together.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So it happens, and this is with Kunark. This is with such a
But
small amount of raid content, and with the population explosions of Velius, I feel that there would be two. It would be TMO, FE version guild, and then a third guild. I think there might even be a third guild.
if guilds like I'm not in game, so I can't look at my hotbar, but if guilds like I don't know, Taken, Rapture, and someone else, if they could take the serious players out of those guilds and form a third guild that was serious and was able to sign up to a bat phone, not necessarily answer a 4 a.m. call, but just be on a bat phone, so that if you are just in the other room playing Madden, you can get up and kill a dragon real quick. Make a guild out of those people, and then yeah, you'll have your third guild. But people have too much pride. People don't want to do that. They want their shit to be number one, and that's why in the last however many years we've seen it happen twice. Once with TMO to dethrone IB, and once with FE trying to dethrone TMO.
Thank you for saying trying. All right, let's get off the topic of that because we got a bunch of questions piling up. Question from Alethea, P99. Question for Sirken. What is his opinion about training in VP under the guise of a no CSR zone? I think he's meaning a guild that is not attempting to make any kills on a mob, just zoning in with 2 to 3 players with the intent of just zone disruption.
There is no lifeguard on duty. Swim at your own risk.
Simple as that. Simple as that. Question from
The
Twill.
only thing is pathing exploits, obviously. I've talked to guild leaders of any guild I've seen in Vishan's Peak, because there are certain rules, like I don't want people on roofs or fighting things in awkward places, pretty much. But as long as they're not exploiting pathing or doing anything like that, I don't care what they do to each other in VP.
Swim at your own risk. All right, let's go take another one. Follow up about the TOV. Okay. Will TOV/Sleeper's Tomb be trainable as well, since there are non-CSR zones?
It's scheduled to be discussed, but we haven't. It hasn't come up yet in our staff discussion.
Oh Jesus! Hold on. That is Tortu. He's French. He likes his song, Tortu Ninja.
That's quite alright. It's the equivalent of a streaker, in my opinion.
Okay, well, let's see here. What was the question that Purist missed? I thought it was a funny question. I liked it. And I just accidentally closed my stream, so I can't see any of the questions anymore.
So everybody resend your questions.
Everyone resend your questions, or send them in as a tell to Quickfinger or Macrame or duct taped in game, so they don't accidentally get lost when I click buttons. Sirken, what if simulated patch day repops? Ah, that's a good question.
Real quick, I'm gonna say if somebody can find proof that Sleeper's Tomb and TOV, like we all remember it the way we remember it, but we need actual proof. So if anyone can find that and send it to Nilbog, then that will just be the way it was, because Nilbog's all about trying to do little things to be classic. So I'm sure he'll go with it. And your next question was the simulated repop days. I think simulated repop days are a huge part of EverQuest. I'm old. I'm an old fucker. I'm like 30, and so I was playing EQ back in the day, and actually the only reason I knew September 11th was happening is because that was a patch day, and so I couldn't log into the servers, and I turned on the damn television instead and had to deal with that. And I think you know, and then that's just one thing though, but there's little things like being pissed off that you couldn't log into the server because it's a patch day is a part of EverQuest, as shitty as it was. And it made you, like, again, it sucks that you have to appreciate these kind of things, but it made you appreciate when you could play the game. And so, and also I think big picture for guilds now, I think it's great for them because the top guild can't be everywhere at once. So, I mean, obviously, if I was a guild like, who was in Fear earlier? Taken, I think. Taken could have had Draco if they didn't wipe on him. And so say, you know, as long as they're not dumb and like, oh, we're going to go for Trachanon, they won't get Trachanon. But if they set up in Fear everybody, or if they set up everybody in Karner's Castle maybe, they would probably have the first shot at those mobs. And if they wipe, that's on them, but giving smaller guilds a shot, I think, is in the best interest of the server, and I think the simulated repop days will do that. It's definitely been thumbs up, greenlit by everyone on staff. Just kind of waiting for it to go in.
You heard it here first. Simulated patch days are incoming. Question from Poopy. Question, is there anything the community can do to help assist further in progression the development of / release date of Velius? From Sworen.
Contact Nilbog.
Contact Nilbog. Simple.
Nilbog is the head of all content development, and Velius is content, and the changes we're doing count as development. So he's the guy to talk to about what needs to be done, what can be done, and how you can do it for us.
Fantastic. What's your opinion on making Sleeper's Tomb TUV PvP?
If it was up to me, I'd turn PvP on for the whole server. I've been advocating for Guild War to work since way before I was on staff, and it just won't happen. I don't see it being a PvP zone. Some of us are actually debating on the staff if we want to release all of Velius at once, or if we want to delay the release of some zones like Sleepers, Plane of Growth, Plane of Mischief, places like that, North TOV.
Okay. Here's a purist question. Would you rather walk on a slightly sticky floor or walk under a tree after it rained and drips on you a bit?
Definitely the sticky floor. I have very close to a shaved head, and so I don't like when water strikes me on the top of my head.
Here to hear first, shaved head.
Although I'm wearing a hat right now, so if it was right now, the tree wouldn't bother me.
Question from Miyamoto. Does Sirken play a non-GM character with any regularity? Also, what kind of hat are you wearing?
Two characters. I'm wearing a gray Baker hat. It's a company. I don't remember what they make. I stole it from a bench a long time ago. Don't worry about it. It's a good hat. What was the other question?
Do you play a tune on P99?
Oh, okay. I have two characters that I goof around on. One of them is on the red server. He is a level 20 Necro. And one of them is on the blue server. He is a level 33 Cleric. And I like to get into groups with people, and eventually it will come up. Someone will say something like, I have this problem. And some other group member will be like, oh, you should try the petition. I've used that before and they helped me. And then I can be like, oh, how do you guys feel about the staff? I feel they're dicks here, blah, blah, blah. And I'll get people to give me dirt on me.
You heard it here first. If you ever group with a mid-30s cleric, it's probably Sirken.
Sorry, all mid-30s clerics.
Every mid-30s cleric is now Sirken in the eyes of the server.
I had a poll on Red for a while, just asking what they thought the hardest race class combination was on that server with the XP issue, the XP penalties, and at the time you lost XP in PvP as well, and you couldn't res that back. And so I just asked them what it was, and the general consensus was a Dark Elf Warrior. And while I didn't necessarily agree with that, that was what won the poll. So, and I planned on rolling one and trying to level it up on my own and just seeing how hard it was for somebody who didn't know anybody, wasn't getting power leveled or geared or anything, to just start a warrior and play him. And I couldn't because they were all looking for a level 1 Dark Elf Warrior.
Okay, here we go. PvP.clit says, question for Sirken. Some people blatantly 2-box an RMT. Is there any plans in the works to punish these people since it is against the rules? Or why is there such a double standard for them? Well, that's kind of a loaded question.
I can answer it though. The reason there's not a double standard, but the reason there seems to be a double standard with 2-boxing is because some people put a little bit more effort into their 2-boxing. Our detection is not like a secret ninja that sneaks into your house and sees what you're up to. We use certain things that we have access to see as best we can if a person is two boxing. Without getting into like what we do, like I can't talk about that, but there's certain things we can see and certain things you can't see, and if you're really smart, there's a way around anything. And so some people put in the extra effort and they don't come up on our detection. And so when you petition and you say, hey, player 1 and player 2 are clearly two boxing, we'll go over there, we'll watch them for a little bit, and if it doesn't look like two boxing, then we're not going to ban them. And if it does, we'll pull them. Like, I like to pull people into unrest, and I'll make them run figure eights around the two pools in the front there at the same time, opposite directions. And if they can't do that, then I ban them for boxing. But if they can, then I have to believe it's two people or one person who's so talented he deserves to two box at that point.
Okay, let's see here. We have a question from Macromere. He says, would you ever give him a CSR res for dying like an idiot while interviewing you?
Yes, I would, but he'd have to wait a minute because I'm not logged in the game.
You score! GM favoritism. Next question. Cracky Feet says, would Sirken wear Track-Anon pajamas that we bought him, but on the ass they had a huge TMO, similar to Pink Brand? Now, the reason this question is because these actually exist. We have Track-Anon pajamas that you can purchase. And if we bought you a pair of Track-Anon pajamas, would you wear them?
Do they have the enclosed feet?
They do not have enclosed feet, no.
That might be a deal breaker.
So if we can get you enclosed feet Track-Anon PJs, you would wear them even with the big TMO on the ass flap.
Yes, I would, but I wouldn't show you guys.
It's as long as we know, that's all that cares. Alright.
Oh yeah, you could know in your hearts.
In our hearts and minds. Gothic tells you, Sirken mentioned possibly slow rolling the zone releases for Velius. Why would they do that, given that is not classic? In addition, is there any plans in the works to never allow Sleeper to be working? / what would happen if it was? On EQ Mac, they reset it.
Okay, the reason some staff, like this is not something all of the staff is on board with by any means, but the reason some people are talking about staggering it is because Velius is the last planned expansion, and once that's out, that's it. And so if we can stagger that to make it last a little bit longer, it would it keeps the server alive longer. We can hype up Sleeper's Tomb release, Plane of Mischief release, blah blah blah.
Counterpoint to that question, it would be releasing zones piecemeal, maybe help Velius come out faster. Say you release 3-4 zones at a time while you're working on a 5th, and then release them monthly or whenever they're finished. That way there can be some more content, some more room for people to grow.
Well, like I said, it's not something all or even most of the staff is on board with, but like personally, I'm on the fence. I could go either way with it. I know Nobog, the first thing he asked was, that's not how they did it on Classic. Why would we do it here? So he's against it. But I mean, there's pros and cons for it either way, I guess. You asked me something else. If Sleeper gets woken, we will make sure that works as best we can. So far, Nobog has fixed and guaranteed, I want to say, like 9 out of 10 scripted quests work. Like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the arena fights in Kale Drakal or whatever, but those fights actually work. If you turn in the whatever to the giant, it will spawn the two giants and they'll fight to the death. And I know it works because I've seen it. And that's one of those scripted events. That's what I'm getting at, the sleeper, waking him. We would need that to, like, one of the reasons we wouldn't release Sleeper's Tomb is if that event didn't work and the rest of Velius was ready to go. If someone wakes the sleeper, then the sleeper's woken and we're not resetting the zone because people would just kill it again and it's not supposed to be a farmable mob. So some guilds, if they don't want it killed, they're going to have to do what they can to prevent it from getting killed. Being that it's a non-CSR zone, you can train people. So assuming it's going to be a non-CSR zone, you can train people. So you would be able to wipe out raid parties if you did it right, I guess.
Heard it here first. Training in Sleeper's Tomb. IB's plans for waking the sleeper have been dashed. Alright, question from Greenblaze. American or Mexican-style tacos?
It depends what time of the night it is.
Depending on how drunk he is. That's the translation there. Terp tells you, question for Sirken. Will they ever make a character with an odd number of plat and then message Platlord and other RMT websites? Sell them the plat, then bust them. Could wait a few weeks and then keep the cash. Even PayPal does not back RMT.
Who says we haven't done that already?
Who says they haven't done that already?
When we took down Platlord last time, we literally took billions of platinum from him in coin and items.
Billions. That's a lot.
It was a lot. When we took just under 3 million in plat from him, he offered us bribes, me and Rogan, and we shot him down, and he didn't offer us anything for the billions plus. I think it was like it was just over 2 billion, I believe, and he didn't offer us anything. I was kind of looking forward to see what he was going to do this time.
2 billion platinum has been removed from the server. Billion. How much was the bribe?
It was low 4 figures.
Low 4 figures. Whew. I'm not going to go into Sirken's,
I told him.
Sirken's real life here, but Sirken's actually the guy from Publishers Clearinghouse. He's got those big checks, so he doesn't need any low 4 figures.
Well, I mean, first of all, you can't offer me a bribe in Vent with Rogan. Second of all, I told him, just like I told Rogan when they brought me on staff, whoever bribes me needs to offer me 5 figures, and I'll give him half. I'll give Rogan half, but it's still got to be 5 figures when I walk away. So buying me off is not going to come cheap.
Heard it here first. Sirken is corrupt, but he's expensive. 5 figures. Here's a question from Damjot. When will there be more GM events? Which has been sadly lacking ever since Uthgard has left the server.
For all of the faults people credit to Uthgard, his events were awesome. As a player, I got to witness 2 of them, and I thought they were both great. If I remember one correctly, it was in Field of Bone, maybe. There was a dragon called Hakanan, I think it was.
Correct.
And, yeah, well, I remember he was spawning these little pain-in-the-ass mobs on people until the guilds finally worked together. And I thought it was really cool that he came up with something that forced the top guilds to all work together. And it was, it was different. It had a lot of thought put into it. It had put some real time into it. It was an all-around good event. It brought a lot of people to one zone. It would have been great to have you around streaming it. But, and then the other one, it started somewhere and it moved to a Karana. It involved a bunch of elemental giant things. I don't know. And we just don't have those anymore because nobody except Rogan has the access that Uthgard used to have. And simply because me and the rest of the CSR team do not have the know-how that Uthgard had rattling around inside that head of his. And so all the, for all the faults people give him, he was really good at that shit. And sadly, I don't know if we would get a really good event like that unless we could honestly get EP feedback, because good old GM Epfeed actually did plan a pretty cool mob event type thing with I don't want to say too much about it just in case he has it. Like all the code is saved in a GM section thread, but he ended up getting married and moving to goddamn Washington, and so his time has been real limited, and that's when we took him off CSR and put him on the anti-cheater division, and it just hasn't happened. We try to do little stupid events to hold people over, but that's all we got right now.
Well, thank you for everything you've done. Let's see here. Capoon tells you, question for Sirken. Would Nilbog do a Q&A like this? Could you convince him?
I was talking to Nilbog on Skype a few weeks ago, and I asked him if we could set up like an IRC Q&A thing where I would advertise it in the forums, and him and me and whichever staff wanted to be there could be there, and he could just field whatever questions he felt like fielding. And he pretty much laughed in my face, so I don't know.
So maybe if people are interested in this, tell him, send him a PM or an IRC message and tell him that, you guys would like a Q&A, and maybe if you ask nicely, he might grace us with a presence. I also want to stop and say I want to thank you everyone for joining this channel. We've currently broken our record. We have 110 simultaneous viewers right now. Just give you a quick plug to my channel. I am basically streaming this almost all day, every day. So give me a follow. That way you can see when I'm on and I'm off. We do rating counters. This is the TMO channel. So if you want to see dragons die, if you want to see Kazakh Thul die, if you want to see people train each other, give us a follow so you can see when we're up. And thanks for coming in and watching. Let's go back to the questions. Even spawning one mob that we would know was coming with a special loot or something to roll off on would be cool and easy. Q&A, are there any changes to the FE snipe rules? We already answered that question. S-Duck says, FYI, Nilbog is pretty good about answering PMs on IRC as well. So if you have a urgent question with him, just give him a quick PM, and he might be able to help you out. So we have about 10-15 minutes left on our Q&A. Does anyone else have any final questions for Sirken before he has to go? How much of the 2 million plat was duped, and are there any current dupes that you know of that the player base in general does not?
There's one dupe that's getting fixed in this next coming patch. From our logs, it looks like the only person, it was caused by something in the previous patch, and it looks like the only person who abused it is the person that reported it. And I can say that going back to February of 08, that's never happened before, but no one's found it since. I've been keeping an eye on it, and it's going to be fixed in the next patch. As far as his plat, I don't think hardly any of it was duped, to be perfectly honest. It wasn't 2 billion in plat. It was 2 billion in plat and gear. He had players working for him. There's people in the EC tunnel who you all know as just like EC traders. and they get items from him, and they sell items on behalf of him, and they get a small percentage of what the item sells for. And so he rarely is touching anything himself. We had a player kind of fucked himself a little bit by telling somebody something he shouldn't have, and then he wanted to come to us before they came to us, and he was working with Platlord, and he sent me spreadsheets full of information. I mean, dates of sale, names, email addresses, and then also login information for like dummy accounts that were pretty much being used like airport lockers. And each one of these dummy accounts had 250,000 plat on them. And the spreadsheet came with the login password information for all of them, so we could log in and verify each one. And then a lot of players don't think we can track when you do group splits or drop things on the ground, but we can. And so we had FV look into that, and we backtracked to where it came from, and we were able to find out that it was all connected to Platlord. And so we banned over 200 accounts, over, like I said, over 2 billion in platinum gear. And I mean, we hit him so hard, most people know by now that he had to take us off his website for a while. But as there's still a demand for items and people are still willing to pay for them, you still have business in the EC tunnel, you still have EC traders. I would bet money at least half of them right now are working with Platlord in some capacity.
So you can never truly get rid of RMT, but you can do your best to curb it down. And we thank you for your diligence. You're always on the watch for that type of stuff.
To be perfectly honest, I mean, the way I feel about it is, and I know like Rogan won't be pleased to hear me say it, but if someone's willing to spend money on something on this server, that means they're much less likely to quit this server. And as long as the staff isn't involved, and as long as the staff isn't making money, the server really can't get in trouble. And the staff really can't get in trouble. And yeah, honestly, I mean, if people are willing to pay real money for pixels, to me, that's a sign that the server is doing pretty damn well, as opposed to where people wouldn't pay for your stuff.
Well, I mean, RMT was always a part of Classic EverQuest as well. What was not as Classic, account trading and selling. We've heard a lot of issues here and there about account selling, and No Bug said he's doing something in the works with it. Do you have anything to shed, any light to shed on account trading in the future?
Okay, I can say account trading has gone on Classic since before Kunar, because I had a friend on Valenzac, a human mage named Nicodemus, who was all decked out in that sexy apothic robe and, you know, hate gear, and he sold his shit pre-Kunar for $550. So it definitely has been going on since forever. That said, accounts are free here, so I mean, you can make as many accounts as you want, level them all up, and sell them all off, and you don't have to pay a subscription. You don't have to pay for the game over and over, because you don't need those keys. So you have that. The problem is with all the scamming. If people didn't scam each other with the account trading, we wouldn't even care about it. I'm talking non-RMT, like buying accounts with Plat. We wouldn't care about it. But there's so much scamming that I was actually asked to write up what would be the thread declaring it against the rules. And so I wrote that up, I submitted it, but it was never posted and nothing came of it. So I don't know if it fell through a crack somewhere or if it's still being talked about by the true leaders of the project or what. But it's definitely frowned upon by staff. It's not supported or condoned by staff. If you get screwed trading accounts, you're on your own, pretty much.
Very good, very good. Quackter tells you, how do corpse retrievals work? Is there a giant database of every corpse for every zone? How long is that stored?
Corpses are literally stored forever.
Forever. So if you die and your corpse rots, feel free to send Sirken to tell directly. Don't petition. And he'll bring back your items immediately. Don't do that, by the way. I was lying. Send a petition, please.
Make a petition. It takes 30 seconds. Don't quit because you think all your stuff is gone forever. We know shit happens. You have to go on vacation, or God forbid, you have to go out of town for a wedding or a funeral or something, or you get hit by a car and you just can't get to your corpse in time. We know that happens. And so literally 30 seconds. I've restored, I don't know if any of you were watching my little text boxes, but I restored many, probably a half dozen to a dozen corpses while I was streaming earlier today. I can even log in your character. I will check, I summon all corpses to East Commons. And so if you ever get moved to East Commons, it's because I was on your character and I had to move you to get off, and East Commons is safe. So I'll summon your corpse to East Commons, I'll move you to East Commons. The next time you log in, you'll see your corpse. If after 6 days your corpse is still in East Commons, I will log in your character and loot your things, just so the next time you get to your character select screen, you won't see a naked character.
Service with a smile. That's why you're the best. Terp tells you, and this is actually a very good question, will it be possible in the long future for more content besides Velius, such as opening Vexar under Lake of Eloman? I love Vexar. It's one of my favorite zones. What about Vexar, the Warrens, Stonebrun Mountains, all those classic Velius-style zones that weren't tied to an expansion? Will we see any of those?
Okay, first of all, I forgot to say it, but congrats on breaking your previous viewer record. I'm very happy to be a part of that with you here. Second, I've never been to Vexar, and so I would absolutely love to see it on P99. As far as the other custom zones, they're all in the same boat as Vexar. I know that AAs will never ever happen. The code has been ripped out and deleted, so Rogan doesn't even have to look at it. I know that Luckland will never ever ever happen because we all hate Luckland. There's a couple zones that a couple people like, but on a whole, we hate Luckland, and so that will never happen. We have tossed around the idea of maybe opening certain zones to Planes of Power. This is all after Velius too, like after we're done with content. But we thought about maybe adding some secret zone lines in the world that would then be the actual zones to the Planes of Power. So instead of going to the Plane of Tranquility and running to whatever stone and clicking on it like you did, you would have to find the zone. Like maybe we would put the Plane of Fire somewhere in Sol B or something like that. And we could slip those in there. We've also discussed completely custom content like world-changing events. One staff member, I won't name names, has even talked about possibly adding lightsaber type weapons.
You mean warrior epics?
No, I mean lightsaber type weapons.
Is this person Rogan?
I can't name names, but they got lightsabers on their brain.
Yeah, I would say that. Let's take a look. Can Sirken confirm / deny that Platlord was Knight from Flawless Victory? And I'll add on to this question. Why are bans kept private?
Knight was not Platlord. Knight was working with Platlord. Does Knight have any other aliases or character names that I would know?
Anyone know this Knight character?
Or a forum name, maybe?
I'm sure if someone knows it, they'll get back to me.
Because that's not the big name that
Bruise?
the person who I said it. No, I don't know who that is. There's, like I said, it was like 200 accounts, but I know that Knight was involved, and I'm just gonna say it. There was a person named Stabby Joe who was also involved. Stabby Joe is actually the one that turned in all the information, came completely clean, wanted to help us, was sorry, didn't even try to appeal his ban, just you know, was like, hey, whatever, here's everything you need. And but then there was somebody else, and I think that person was Knight, but they're both banned now. As far as why we don't make bans public, um, first, the most simplest reason is we don't want to antagonize shitty people. Most shitty people have a lot of free time, and we don't feel like having them post naked dick pictures on the forums, and we don't feel like having them spam the forums with useless threads and da 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 da. We like them to just go away quietly or start a new character quietly and be done with it. Another reason is, I know Uthgard was not like this, but I'm a human being. I understand that I'm gonna make mistakes at times, just like everybody else.
Heathcard was
And
not
so
human.
I'm always willing. I'm always willing to talk to a player if they feel they were wrong, as long as they don't come at me like, what the fuck is your problem? You fucking piece of shit. You better lawyer up. We're suing you. And like, if you come at us like that, we're not gonna talk to you. But if you're like, hey, can we talk? You just banned my other account. Maybe there was a mistake. What's up? Like, I'll talk to you, and you can tell me your side of the story, and I'll listen. And if it looks like I made a mistake, I'm gonna unban you. And sometimes that takes a few days because I gotta get logs from somebody else, or sometimes it's just 10, 15 minutes after I talk to them. The reason we don't is because some people aren't going to get unbanned. Some people, it's almost like a 3-strike rule. If you're a consistent problem, you don't deserve to be on the server. It's like getting Al Capone for taxes. If you can't catch him for murder, you get him with what you can get him with. And a lot of information that we've used to really help us with the MQ detection. I've had players send me compiles of MQ most often after they get caught using MQ. And we get information from people, and so if they help us, and if they don't go run their mouth in the forums and act like a goddamn child in rants and flames, people make mistakes, players too, so they get second chances too, and that's just kind of how it is.
All right, let's go with second chances. There's a lot of people, myself included, that are a little disappointed that permabans for very serious offenses aren't really permabans. For example, I don't want to drop names, but Kinswap and some of these old IB people, when they left the server, they admitted to RMTing. They sold their characters for RMTing. They posted screenshots of PayPal of them receiving and trading money for accounts. Their accounts that they traded were caught and banned. But recently you see Kinswap playing on another account. You see accounts that were sold for RMT that were even admitted by the players themselves. Who is the name of the monk that Sloan plays? The owner of that account admitted, Sloan's monk, that he RMT'd that for money, and yet that account is unbanned. And I understand second chances for small offenses. I understand giving a large Sven Sizeth. That's it, Sizeth, I'm sorry. And I understand giving a 6-month ban and stuff like that, but for stuff that can put the server in jeopardy, like a RMT ban, how are these characters being brought back?
Alright, well, like I said earlier, it doesn't put the server in jeopardy because the staff isn't getting any of that money. And with EQ being free to play now, they really don't give a fuck. When they do send a C&D letter, it goes right in the recycling bin because we're green like that. And as far as the monk, he had to have put in a appeal petition on the forums, and a staff member had to look at it and say, you know what, this guy's not a problem. We don't feel he's going to be a problem. That's the other thing we look at. If we think you're likely to do it again, if we feel you learned your lesson and it's not going to happen again, then we'll give you a second chance. I know Kinswat's character, Kinswat, is still banned, because I denied his appeal. If he's playing a different character, I mean, there's a lot of characters that, or I'm sorry, there's a lot of people that have been banned and re-rolled on different characters. We generally don't IP ban you unless you do something really, really stupid, like threaten to bring us to court, or if I catch you talking about Rogan or Nilbog. Like, I mean, if you just, talk random shit about them, I'll tell you to stop. But if you say horrible things about those two people, I will IP ban you from the server, and then you can create as many characters as you want. Every time I see your IP or your computer, I will try to ban that account.
So, bribing a GM to facilitate your RMT business is not an IP bannable offense, but bad-mouthing a GM is.
I told you, to me, RMT is not the worst thing in the world. I know a lot of people hate it. I know a lot of people are against it. I think it's a sign that the server's doing well. I think it's something that keeps people from quitting their characters, more likely to keep logging in. I don't view RMT as a horrible thing. As far as bribing GMs, all the evidence we saw on our side, staff side, showed Kinswat was the main person behind that. That's why no matter what happens, Kinswat's characters will stay banned. If he's not going to do it again, and if he's made new character and he's starting completely over, we don't witch hunt anybody. And as shitty of a thing as he did, and as shitty of a person as he may or may not be, we still don't witch hunt people. It's just not, like, we haven't done it to anybody.
Very good. So, I was kind of surprised to a sense. I mean, I kind of agree with him. I don't think RMT is that bad of a thing. And if he's saying that,
if it doesn't get us in trouble, the staff, and because I mean, I'm sorry, but I care more about the staff than the players because I'm on the staff. So, if it doesn't get the staff in trouble, and if it can't get the server shut down or in trouble, then what's really the problem? Other than it's probably bad for the economy.
Yeah, the economy. Here's a question from Terp. What is the rarest item you've seen from seized from Platlord, or I guess any other arm tier, like a pre-nerf fungi staff?
Oh,
if they are not
so easy.
Duped items, will they be ever offered back to the server via a police-style auction or some sort of GM event?
Okay, I have had events where I've given out items, not the little race changing potions, but actual items. All the items I've ever given out were from RM tiers. Any plat awards I've given for like trivia events or anything like that, all from RM tiers. I don't just create money and stick it into the economy. It came from somewhere. The rarest items, he had 2 pre-nerf fungi staffs. Platlord did.
2 pre-nerf fungi staffs. That has to be half of that billion plat right there.
And you can do the math. I believe he was charging $3 per 1K. And I know people have offered at least 1 million plat for those, so...
That much. What is your opinion on the player named Cast? I know he's given you a lot of trouble in the past.
Cast needs a friend.
Cast needs a friend. That's all we need to say about Cast. On the post-Valius content, after Valius is done, what's your opinion on frog locks?
The Guck frog locks, or are we talking the Gukta frog lock?
Either or.
Well, as most people who hang out in the East Commons tunnel from time to time will know, I'm a pretty big fan of the Gukta frog lock illusions. As far as the Guk frog locks, I have no love for them at all. I'm actually very ashamed to admit I've never learned my way through upper or lower Guk because I played on a PvP server on live. I played on Val and Zek. and I was an erudite, and the darkies locked down Upper and Lower Guck, and I was just never able to hunt there, and so I never learned it.
So if you guys want to do any exploiting, make sure you do it in Upper Guck. What was your Valen'Zek character name?
No comment.
His name was No Comment. And what guild was No Comment in?
No Comment was in a guild called Defiant pre-Kunark and beginning of Kunark, and then he griefed people for a little while, and then he joined a guild called Faded because they were a bunch of light team rebel types, and they would attack other light teamers, so I liked them a lot. Started my own guild called Macabre with 2 real-life friends, and that was right around the time Luckland came out. We hated Luckland, so we just recruited new players to the server and ran them through the old classic content, expansion by expansion. Once we finished Velius again, we pretty much broke up and merged into a guild called Torrent, and that was about the end of my EQ days.
Well, here's a question. Do you have any plans or any knowledge of any ability to reset login server passwords? I forgot my account and now I'm re-leveling. I've heard this a lot from a lot of people, that they forget a password and there's no reset option.
Yes, I see lots and lots of forum petitions that say this every day, and it's another thing, just like the 1018, when I see it, I feel like as I'm clicking the link to open it, like I feel so legitimately bad for these people. And a lot of people are like, but Rogan, we are not the EQ emulator staff. Going to Project1999 forums to get help with EQ emulator related issues is the wrong thing to do, because nobody on the Project1999 staff can help you except for Rogan, who happens to be on both staffs. But when he's on the P99 forums, he's not doing work on the EQ emulator stuff. So the best thing to do is post the problems over on the EQ emulator website. And I know they're going to tell you only Rogan can help, but it's good to post it anyway because it reminds everybody that it still needs to be worked on. Yes, Rogan is working on it. It's not on the top of his list, but there's other more important things than that. And I know it sucks, but there's only so much time able to be split so many ways, and that's just sadly not getting a good amount of time right now.
Okay. As an add-on to this question, and I know that if this has been done, Uthgard has been known to do this multiple times. Is it possible to copy a locked character to a new account? I know a couple people that have forgotten their password, and Uthgard has copied their character over to a new account and then deleted the character on the locked account. Would that be a possible workaround?
Did I ever res you?
You have never res me yet.
Okay.
Congrats, everybody, level
Yes.
60.
In the physical world we occupy, it is possible to copy a character from one account to another account. We don't do it because of all the account trading that's happened. Let's say, for example, you bought Sirken, who is an awesome warrior player account. And then 9 months later, I come to Rogan like, oh, hey, here's all the original EQ emulator info. I just don't remember what I changed my password to. Can you copy Sirken to my new account? And Rogan just looks at it and says, yep, the info matches, and he transfers the character right off the account you paid for back on the dude's new account. And it creates a lot of room for even more scamming and doubles backward scamming.
But earlier you said
so we don't want to do it.
That if you get scammed in an account trade, it's your fault completely. Wouldn't that follow the same thing if you don't trust the person? And don't you think helping players that have forgotten their password is more important than protecting people that sell accounts?
I'm not saying they're going to honestly come at us and tell us what their plan is. I'm saying they're going to... Like, I'm going to open a petition that says lost password. Hold on. That says lost password or forgotten password. And I'm going to open it up and be like, hey guys, I really love your server. I'm a long-time Project 1999 player. A while back, I changed my password because my roommate had my information and I didn't trust him. But in the hurry that I changed it in, I forgot what I changed it to. Is there any way you could just transfer Macromir to new account ABC1? Thanks so much. Where's the donation button? I'd love to donate. And we see that. We're in a hurry because I have 14 pages of petitions to go through. And I say, yep, we'll just do that real quick, help this guy out. And it's not like we'll look into it and see what happened and know we're helping a piece of shit over a guy who doesn't deserve it. We just, we see the petition. Can we fix this real quick? Yes, we can. And then we fix it and move on to the next one. And that would that would happen. I guarantee it would happen.
Okay, I mean, I think that helping the players in general, and if I would toss this back to the server, if all the people watching can think of a way to help this situation, think of a way that you can verify or maybe confirm, and then if you can post that question to Sirken in a PM later on, maybe we can get something running, because I feel that a lot of people losing their characters to forgetting passwords is terrible, and I think it drives some people away.
I agree with you 100%. And like I said, I don't want to give the impression that Rogan's doing nothing, but he is not working on that more often. Like, he's doing all... Rogan does a lot, and I don't understand it all, and I can't talk about most of it, but he does a lot. And something like that, it doesn't directly help P99. Like, it's not... It's more of a... It's hard to explain, but it doesn't directly help the server and the game, and so it's just not as, like, priority one. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm trying to make it make sense.
Here's a question from Little Gino, my friend. What house would you belong to?
Hey.
Hey.
It's Little Gino.
Little Gino, whatever. What house would you belong to if you lived in the realm of Game of Thrones?
Baelish.
He would be Baelish. That's a ballsy choice there. No spoilers. Incoming spoilers, obviously. Let's see here. Ask Sirken if P99 had fucking lightsabers, would Rogan develop more?
Well, I think if P99 had fucking lightsabers, Rogan would have developed them anyway, so yes.
Alright, well, I feel that our interview is coming to an end. We've had Sirken for well over an hour, and he's got lots of things to do. I'm going to field the first question that hits my tails now. Will be the last question, so shoot away. Last question for Sirken. Why can only Rogan review and decide on some players' bans?
We have a policy that we don't undo each other's bans. So if I ban a player, you'll basically have to talk to me. You can't go talk to Embrodus or Nilbog or Zaid or Epfi. And if Epfi bans someone, they have to talk to Epfi. If Rogan bans you, you have to talk to Rogan. If you were banned by a staff member who was not on staff anymore, like say Uthgard banned you, and it was like a legitimate ban, or Amalinda banned you and it was a legitimate ban, then it's got to be cleared by Rogan, because he was the only person CSR-wise that was on staff when that shit happened. And then some bands are really old, and the way they used to do them, they're management band, and so with my access level and people below my access level, we physically do not have the access to unban them ourselves.
I would like to thank Sirken for joining us today in my stream and answering everyone's questions, and I hope we can do this again sometime. This interview has been recorded and will be on my stream, so if anyone who's missed part of it, they can come back. It usually takes about a day to upload. I'd also like to thank everyone that's on my stream today. We're on the TMO. Is that Rogan? We're on the TMO Ventrilo Rogan. I'd like to thank everyone who came in today. 134 people. That's more than a tenth of the server tuned in to listen to this. So there's definitely a draw for this type of thing. So I'm glad you guys came in, and I hope we can do it again.
Well, I was just going to say thanks for having me.
Not a problem. Anytime, Sirken, you're welcome. I think a lot of people like this. And I see Rogan poking around. If Rogan wants to do a Q&A sometime, we can set up something. I'll ask him Star Wars trivia and stuff about lightsabers. And I'm sure he would enjoy that.
He definitely would.
All right, everybody. That's going to conclude our Q&A of Sirken and Lee GM of Project 1999. If anyone tuned in who is not currently playing, you can see how to get installed and get a free account on Project1999.org. It's a quick and easy install. It's a fun game. It's classic EverQuest. It's got a great bunch of staff behind it. The best in the business. They are working super hard to get Velius out, and it's so addicting. Thank you, Swage. We've got a lot of people that have found this game out from the stream, and this stream is running pretty much 24/7 with the breaks in between. This is Tiggles, Macrobeer Quickfingers. I am lead public relations officer for the Mystical Order. Our website's themysticalorder.net. And if you have any questions, feel free to send me a Telling Game. I'm usually on, and I'm here to help. Thank you again.
Yep. Can I say two things?
Of course, you have an open forum.
I just want to say I'm CSR GM. Don't come to me with actual big problems. I'm more of an in-game babysitter. And two, our website, www.project1999.org. Visit it. You can get all the information you need to start playing right away.
Boom.
Thank you.